Graham Greene as Kicking Bird. Graham Greene was born on June 22, 1952 in Oswecon, Ontario. At 38, he captivated audiences around the world with his performance as Kicking Bird in Dances with Wolves, a wise and compassionate Lakota Sioux healer who helps bridge two distant worlds. The role earned Greene an Oscar nomination and established him as one of the most influential Native actors in cinema. But behind that dazzling success was a life shrouded in untold tragedy. In his 20s, Greene spiraled into heavy drinking, which derailed his early career. His first marriage ended in heartbreak, leaving him feeling lonely even as he began to gain recognition with his roles in Thunderheart, 1992, and Maverick, 1994. The greatest tragedy in Greene's life was the death of his eldest son in a tragic car accident. The grief forced him to confront himself, give up alcohol, and find the clarity to move on. Greene says his work, including performances in the plays The Green Mile, 1999, and Wind River, 2017, became a way for him to redeem himself and share messages of humanity and healing. In 2025, at age 73, Graham Greene continues to serve as both a teacher and an example of resilience and determination. He lives with his wife, Hilary Blackmore, in a suburb of Toronto, away from the limelight but still actively acting and writing. His net worth is estimated at $5 million, the result of more than 4 decades of tireless dedication to the profession. Donald Houghton as General Tide. Donald Houghton was born on March 29, 1933. At the age of 57, he appeared in Dances with Wolves, playing General Tide, a powerful and commanding military figure. Although his screen time was brief, his performance left a lasting impression. General Tide embodied the authority, isolation, and relentless brutality of war, and Houghton's portrayal added weight and authenticity to those moments. Off-camera, Donald Houghton's real life was as quietly tragic as the characters he portrayed. He found steady success in Hollywood, with roles in critically acclaimed films such as The China Syndrome, 1979, and The Bodyguard, 1992. But that success came at a price. His dedication to his craft was absolute. He poured himself into his work so completely that he gradually distanced himself from the people he loved most. His marriage eventually fell apart after years of stress, as his long hours and intense dedication left his family feeling neglected. His children grew up longing for the father they admired but rarely had access to. And while his career achievements brought him recognition on screen, in his personal life, Donald often struggled with feelings of isolation. He had few close friends, and for him acting was his main connection to the world around him. Donald faced more challenges later in life. He quietly battled depression and persistent health issues that slowly wore him down. Despite his struggles, he remained a respected figure in the acting community, a man remembered by his peers for his professionalism and insight. On April 14, 1999, Donald Houghton died at the age of 66. His death, which was ruled natural, marked the end of a life filled with both artistic achievement and personal sadness. At the time of his death, his net worth was estimated at $1 million, a fortune accumulated over decades of work in film, television, and theater. Rodney A. Grant as Wind in Your Hair. Rodney Arnold Grant was born on March 9, 1959 in Macy, Nebraska. At the age of 31, he gave a brilliant performance as Wind in Hair in Dances with Wolves, a proud, fierce Lakota Sioux warrior who symbolized the freedom and indomitable spirit of his people. The role etched Grant's image into the hearts of audiences around the world. But behind the strong face of that warrior was a painful childhood. Abandoned by his parents at the age of 6 months, Rodney was raised by his grandparents on the Omaha Reservation, growing up in hardship and loneliness. As an adult, acting was his escape, but past ghosts and old wounds led Grant into addiction, habits that disrupted his burgeoning career after roles in Geronimo, An American Legend, 1993, and Wild Wild West, 1999. His marriage also ended in divorce, partly due to the pressures of work and unhealed scars that created distance between him and his partner. Grant later devoted himself to community service, dedicated to preserving and sharing Native culture, and working with groups such as the Native American Advisory Council of the Boys Clubs of America. In 2025, at age 66, Rodney A. Grant lives a quieter life in Southern California. He continues to inspire Native youth and honor the spiritual legacy he represents. His net worth is estimated at $2 million, built from significant roles, including in Son of the Morning Star, 1991, Geronimo, An American Legend, and The Last of the Mohicans. Maury Chaykin as Major Fambro. Maury Allen Chaykin was born on July 27, 1949 in Brooklyn, New York. At the age of 41, he left a deep impression on the audience with his role as Major Fambro in the play Dances with Wolves, an eccentric, mentally unstable officer who left an unforgettable mark in just a few short scenes. His performance perfectly portrayed a man lost and insane in the tragedy of war. Behind the scenes, Chaykin's life was full of ups and downs. He was married to film producer Ilana Frank, but the marriage ended in heartbreak, leaving scars that affected his later relationships. He remarried to actress Susanna Hoffman and had a daughter, but persistent health problems plagued him. Chaykin struggled with obesity all his life, which led to a host of complications, including heart disease. Despite his considerable success with films like War Games, My Cousin Vinny, and his iconic role as Nero Wolfe on a hit television series, he could not escape the shadow of his illness and loneliness. On July 27, 2010, his 61st birthday, Maury Chaykin died in Toronto from complications of a heart valve infection. His net worth at the time of his death was estimated at $2 million, earned from film, television, and memorable performances. Charles Rocket as Lieutenant Elgin. Charles Rocket, born Charles Adams Clavery, was born on August 28, 1949, in Bangor, Maine. In 1990, at the age of 41, he appeared in the film Dances with Wolves, playing Lieutenant Elgin, a disciplined, dedicated officer who often appears in tense military scenes around the fort. His role, though brief, left a lasting impression as a stern, dry, yet courageous man amid the film's grandeur. Off-screen, Rocket was one of Hollywood's most promising faces. A rising star from Saturday Night Live, he won over audiences with villainous roles like Nicholas Andre in Dumb and Dumber and Dave Dennison in Hocus Pocus. But behind the smile and the film career was a life of pain. Rocket married his college sweetheart, Beth Krellin, on the USS Massachusetts in 1972. They had a son, Zane, but under the weight of work pressure and worsening depression, their marriage fell apart, leaving Rocket in a state of deep loneliness. Fame could not save him from a series of disappointments. His career gradually faded, leading roles disappeared, leaving him with only small supporting roles in movies and television. Rocket struggled with a growing emotional emptiness and persistent depression. The climax came on October 7, 2005. He was found dead in a field on his property in Connecticut. His throat had been cut. The investigation ruled it a suicide, leaving family, friends and fans shocked and saddened by his tragic death. Rocket died at the age of 56, leaving behind a net worth of approximately $1.5 million, largely from his tumultuous years on SNL, Dumb and Dumber, Hocus Pocus, and Dances with Wolves. He was laid to rest quietly, closing a life that was both flamboyant and tumultuous, one that Hollywood still mourns. Tantoo Cardinal as Black Shawl. Tantoo Cardinal was born on July 20, 1950, in Anzac, Alberta. At age 40, she played Black Shawl in Dances with Wolves, a strong, kind-hearted Lakota woman who helped bring the depth of Sioux culture and spirit to audiences around the world. Tantoo's childhood was difficult. She grew up in an orphanage without the protection of her biological parents. It was her grandmother who instilled in her a deep love for Cree and Métis culture and taught her the core values that have shaped her life. Her grandmother also warned her of the challenges she would face as a Métis woman in a prejudiced society. Those peaceful days walking behind her picking blueberries and listening to the sound of the earth were when Tantoo first learned to observe and immerse herself, the seeds of her acting career. On screen, she shined in roles such as Legends of the Fall, 1994, Smoke Signals, 1998, and Longmire, 2012 to 2017. But behind that success were personal struggles. She had 3 major relationships, including 2 marriages that ended in divorce. Her first marriage to Fred Martin lasted 10 years and she had to raise her son, Cheyenne, alone. Her subsequent relationship with Beaver Richards produced a second son, Clifford, but also ended in heartbreak. Her second marriage to actor John Lawler from 1988 to 2000 produced a daughter, Riel, but it also failed to survive the storms of life, the demands of acting, single motherhood, and her tireless efforts to support indigenous communities often left Tantu carrying the burden in silence. Yet Tantu Cardinal has never stopped moving forward. In 2025, at age 75, she remains a tireless force for indigenous rights and culture, from stage to screen to social movements. Her net worth is estimated at $3 million, the result of more than 50 years of dedicated work in film, theater, and community service. Kevin Costner as Lieutenant John Dunbar. Kevin Michael Costner was born on January 18, 1955, in Linwood, California, at the age of 35. He both directed and starred in Dances with Wolves as Lieutenant John Dunbar, a Union Army officer who, after surviving a bloody battlefield, finds purpose and compassion among the Lakota Sioux. The film earned Costner 2 prestigious Oscars and established him as an iconic figure in modern Western cinema. However, Kevin Costner's real life was as turbulent as the stories he brought to the screen. At the height of his career with Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, 1991, and The Bodyguard, 1992, his 16-year marriage to his first wife, Cindy Silva, ended in 1994 amid rumors of infidelity on the set of Waterworld. The divorce cost him more than $80 million and left an emotional void that was difficult to fill. In the years that followed, Costner had a series of complicated relationships with Bridget Rooney, supermodel Elle Macpherson, and Birgit Cunningham, while balancing fatherhood with 7 children from different stages of his life. Despite his tumultuous personal life, Costner never lost his passion for filmmaking. After failures like The Postman 1997, he came back stronger with Open Range 2003 and made a big impression with the role of John Dutton in films from 2018-2023, reaffirming his position in the hearts of audiences. But just as this new golden era began, personal tragedy struck. In 2023, his nearly 20-year marriage to Christine Baumgartner ended in a high-profile divorce, fraught with legal disputes and family tensions. In 2025, at the age of 70, Kevin Costner is still a living icon of American cinema, with an estimated net worth of $250 million. Built on recognized works as an actor, director, and producer, hidden behind the halo is a heart that has been broken many times, still quietly searching for peace. Wayne Grace as Major. Wayne Grace was born on May 7, 1940 in Pomona, California. At the age of 50, he appeared in Dances with Wolves as Major, a tough-looking military commander with a secret loneliness and regret, reflecting a real life full of loss. Wayne Grace's life is a tragic tapestry, interwoven with moments of success and suffering. Just as his career began to take off with roles in McCabe and Mrs. Miller, 1971, and then Star Trek, The Next Generation in the 1990s, he faced his greatest grief. His first wife died of cancer shortly after the birth of their second child. The loss forced Wayne to endure the grief of raising 2 children alone during difficult times. Although he is remembered for his roles as Ulysses S. Grant in The Lazarus Man, 1996, and various Klingon characters in Star Trek, Grace never achieved the heights of fame he once dreamed of. He later took on roles for financial reasons rather than artistic passion, abandoning his youthful creative ambitions. His second marriage also ended in failure, and the wounds of his past created an irreparable distance. Wayne Grace passed away on August 13, 2022 in Venice Beach, California, at the age of 82, after battling complications from bladder cancer. He passed away peacefully, leaving behind an estimated net worth of $2 million, the result of more than 40 years of supporting roles in film, television, and video game voice acting. Tom Everett as Sergeant Pepper. Tom Everett was born on October 21, 1948, in Portland, Oregon, in 1990. At the age of 42, He played Sergeant Pepper in Dances with Wolves, a stern, disciplined soldier who brought authenticity and depth to the film's portrayal of military life. Growing up in a small town, Tom faced loss early on when his father died, leaving a void that never healed. Music and theater became his refuge. As a student, he played cello with the Walla Walla Symphony Orchestra and later graduated from New York University's Tisch School of the Arts before entering the world of film. Roles like Jack Dougherty in Air Force One, 1997, and Mosley Baker in The Alamo, 2004, demonstrated his versatility, though he never became a household name. Behind his career were his personal struggles. Tom had 2 failed marriages, first to Kate in 1973, then to Anna in 1993. Both ended when the demands of work and distance took their toll on their relationships. He has a child from his second marriage, but the geography and pace of his work sometimes strained their relationship. In recent years, Tom has faced age-related health issues, forcing him to slow down and focus on songwriting, playing guitar, and living a quiet life in Oregon, where he recently purchased land for his final resting place. In 2025, at age 76, Tom Everett will be remembered as a dedicated artist who brought life to every role, no matter the scale. His net worth is estimated at $10 million. Floyd Red Crow Westerman as Ten Bear. Floyd Red Crow Westerman was born on August 17, 1936, on the Traverse Lake Reservation in South Dakota. He is not only an actor, but also a living symbol of Lakota Sioux culture. At the age of 54, Floyd reached new heights with his role as Ten Bear in the film Dances with Wolves, a wise, calm, yet powerful Lakota Sioux chief who represents the honor and pride of a forgotten people. But behind the glamour lies a quiet tragedy that few people know about. Floyd's childhood was a nightmare. He was forced to leave his family and cut his traditional hair at Wahpeton boarding school. The humiliation left deep scars on his soul, leaving him a loner for years. During this time, Floyd turned to alcohol, using it to numb the pain of being stripped of his roots. His health deteriorated, and his marriage to Rosie was often on the brink of collapse. Rosie, a strong woman, was fed up with his long nights away, his tours, his drinking. The more famous Floyd became, the more torn between two worlds he felt. Hollywood had celebrated him for iconic roles, from Red Crow in Renegades to Shaman in The Doors, but it was also a gilded cage. Stereotypes and prejudices forced him to forever play the role of the wise old native. Every time he stepped onto the set, he carried the pain of his people. But in real life, he was extremely lonely. In the last years of his life, Floyd faced his final enemy, leukemia. When he took on the role of Chief Eaglehorn in Hidalgo, he was exhausted, but he still tried his best to make the character not just a role, but a final message of Lakota pride. In December 2007, Floyd died at the age of 71 in Los Angeles. His net worth at the time was around $2 million, a sum that ensured his memory would live on in the hearts of his admirers. Jimmy Herman as Stone Calf. Jimmy Herman was born on October 25, 1940, on the Cold Lake Reservation in Alberta, Canada, of Chippewayan and Dean blood. At the age of 50, he made his mark in the 1990 production of Dances with Wolves as Stone Calf, a brave, loyal Lakota Sioux warrior who symbolized the honor, pride, and indomitable spirit of his people during a time of turmoil. Behind the scenes, Jimmy's life was full of challenges. He grew up isolated in the Canadian wilderness, facing poverty and emotional hardship from an early age. His adulthood was anything but smooth. Years of alcoholism cost him many opportunities and ended his first marriage, leaving him haunted by the pain of separation and loss. Although he found love and remarried, the scars of his past and the constant pressure of work put a strain on the relationship. By the time of Unforgiven in 1992, Jimmy was still struggling with addiction and trying to rebuild his family life. He threw himself into his work, becoming famous for roles like Joe Gamba in North of 60, a TV series that defined his career for 6 years. But the relentless demands of the industry often left him exhausted and deepened rifts in his personal life. Despite the hardships, Jimmy remained committed to his community. working on projects like Crazy Horse and inspiring indigenous youth through his speaking engagements and activism. But deep inside, he carried the loneliness of a twice-divorced man, along with lingering regrets about the family life he never had. On September 13, 2013, Jimmy Herman died at the age of 72 of natural causes. His net worth at the time was estimated at $1 million, built from his film and television career and tireless community efforts. Wes Studda as toughest Pawnee. Wes Studda was born on December 17, 1947, in No Fire Hollow, Oklahoma. At age 43, he made a lasting impression in the 1990 film Dances with Wolves as toughest Pawnee, a fierce warrior who embodied the haunting realities of war and conflict on the plains. The role not only brought authenticity to the film, but also established Studda's extraordinary talent for transformation. Wes's childhood was difficult. He grew up in a poor Cherokee family and spoke only his native language until elementary school. At 17, Wes enlisted in the Army and fought in Vietnam, an experience that left him with lasting conflict and reflection. After the war, he joined the indigenous rights movement and was part of the 1973 Wounded Knee Occupy. These years forged the steely spirit he later brought to roles such as Magua in The Last of the Mohicans, 1992, Geronimo in Geronimo, An American Legend, 1993, and Atukin in Avatar, 2009. Behind his cinematic achievements were personal challenges. His first marriage ended in heartbreak, leaving him with the pain of a broken family and distance from his first two children, Leah and Daniel. But that pain drove him to pursue art as a path to healing and cultural expression. In addition to acting, Wes has worked tirelessly to preserve the Cherokee language and heritage, supporting groups dedicated to preserving native voices. Today, at 77, Wes Studd remains a living legend in world cinema. Although health issues have slowed his work, he continues to inspire through meaningful roles and community service. His net worth is estimated at $6 million, the result of a relentless journey from on-screen warrior to real-life culture warrior. Doris Leadercharge as Pretty Shield. Doris Leadercharge was born on May 4, 1930, on the Rosebud Reservation in South Dakota. At age 60, she moved audiences with her portrayal of Pretty Shield in Dances with Wolves, the Lakota Sioux mother figure who symbolized compassion, wisdom, and enduring strength during a time of great upheaval. Behind the scenes of this Oscar-winning film was a tumultuous life. Doris grew up in poverty, raised by her grandmother and experiencing hardship from a young age. At the age of 17, she married Wallace Millard. They had 4 children together. But tragedy struck in 1956 when Wallace died in a car accident, leaving Doris alone and pregnant with her youngest child. The burden of raising children weighed heavily on her shoulders. She worked many jobs, from kitchen assistant to waitress to nurse, spending countless nights crying to take care of her children. She later married Fred Leadercharge, an Air Force veteran, but her happiness was still fragile. The scars of her first marriage and the broken trust of her second often left Doris facing loneliness alone. She found new purpose in teaching and community service. Her success as Pretty Shield and Lakota dialect coach for Dances with Wolves and Son of the Morning Star, 1991, was not only an honor, but also a way for her people to have a voice in the world. Deep down, however, she struggled to balance her civic duty with her love of family. Doris Leadercharge died of natural causes on February 20, 2001, at the age of 70. She was buried at Black Hills National Cemetery, ending a quiet life that left a lasting mark on Lakota culture and language. Her net worth at the time of her death was estimated at $500,000, earned through her work in education, language preservation, and significant acting roles. Robert Pastorelli as Timmons. Robert Joseph Pastorelli was born on June 21, 1954 in New Brunswick, New Jersey. At 36, he made a splash as Timmons in the musical Dances with Wolves, a rough-and-tumble stagecoach driver who provided the only laughs in the epic tale of Native Americans and the conquest of the West. But behind the spotlight, his fate was a series of tragedies that eventually engulfed him. Robert had dreamed of becoming a boxer, But those dreams were shattered when he was nearly killed in a car accident at 19, an accident that left him with permanent scars, both physical and mental. It was during these dark days between life and death that he fell into drugs, a temptation he could not escape for the rest of his life. Robert's career reached its peak with roles such as the haunting killer in Striking Distance and the humorous Huey in Michael. But fate took a dark turn on the night of March 15, 1999, the fateful night when his girlfriend, Shariman Janovich, died at her home from a gunshot to the head. Robert panicked and called the police, saying that she had committed suicide during an argument. But the public did not easily believe him, and the long investigation turned him from a beloved star to a man under suspicion. From then on, Robert sank deeper into loneliness and pressure. Roles became scarce, and film offers became small, fleeting parts. Despite sharing the stage with Glenn Close on the Desire Tram and winning over London audiences, Robert never regained his former glory. Haunted by the death of his lover and a series of failed relationships, he sank deeper into drug addiction. On March 8, 2004, Robert was found dead at his home in the Hollywood Hills. His death was determined to be the result of a morphine overdose. Robert Pastorelli died at the age of 49, leaving behind a net worth of approximately $3 million, largely accumulated during his peak years with Murphy Brown, Eraser, Michael, and Dances with Wolves.